Last week during the Makeover Monday Viz review, Eva and I reviewed this visualization by Sarah Bartlett. So one of the things that Sarah wanted to be able to do in this viz that she wasn't sure how to do was how to basically click on a state on the right-hand side here and have it highlight in the line chart on the left. So for this week's Tableau Tip Tuesday, first I'm going to show you how to build this chart on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to show you how to use highlight actions in order to be able to highlight a state within that view. So I've gone ahead and connected to the data, and the first thing I want to do is to build that line chart. So if I flip back over here, we can see that this is showing how the median age has changed since 2003. So it's using 2003 as the baseline, and how has every year changed since then, and there's a line for each individual state. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag year onto the column shelf, and I'm going to right click and drag the average age of mother to the rows and pick the median age. The alternative for that is to right click and set the default aggregation to a median, and then in that case I could have just dragged it on and it would have been fine. Okay, so from there I need a line for each state, so I'm just going to drag state to the detail. But now I want to look at the change since 2003, so that's going to require a table calculation. So I'm going to add a table calculation, choose difference from, specific dimensions, year, and then I want to do it from the first. So this is saying for each state, compute the difference from the first, which is 2003, by year. Okay, so let's close that. And now we have our simple line chart, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a bit of formatting here. Let's remove the year, and actually I think Sarah may have even had this as discrete. So let's leave it as continuous. Okay, and then let's do a bit of formatting and let's get rid of the grid lines. Let's just clean it up a bit. Okay, let's leave the 0 line like that, and let's maybe make the axis rulers stick out a bit more. Okay, so now if I flip back over to Sarah's, okay, that looks a bit more. It looks like she has okay, so she does not have one on the rows. So let's go ahead and remove the axis from the rows. Okay, perfect. There we go. So this is difference in age, difference in median mother's age. Okay, so we could edit the axis title if we wanted to. So let's name this sheet. So let's go. How has the median age changed since 2003? And I'll just make it maybe Tableau medium. Okay, good enough. Okay, so that's the first sheet. So this is, I'll just call this our line. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to have a list of states that we're using for a highlight action. So I'm just going to drag state to the rows. And I also have these ABCs here. So I'm going to actually drag state onto the text as well. And then I'm going to hide the header. From there, I'm going to right click and format this because I want to, you notice how every other row is gray. So I'm going to go to my row banding and set that to none. And then I'm also going to go ahead and maybe we'll leave it like that. So what I'm going to do in the title of this is I'm going to say click a state to highlight. Okay, and I'm going to make this a nice small font. So let's maybe make that 8 point and center it, something like that. Okay, so now these are my states. So now I'm going to create a dashboard, and let's just throw the line chart on here, and I'm going to put the states next to it over here. But actually, why don't I stick them in a container? So let me just drag a container in. I'll put that here, put this one in the container as well. Okay, and then this one I want to set fit to entire view. And okay, so now let's make this one a bit wider. So let's edit the width of this, and maybe let's make it 100 wide. See how that looks. Okay, so we still have some states cut off here. So let's edit the width, make it 150. Okay, very good. All right, so actually I'm going to go back over here to my states list, and I'm going to center align the text. All right, and there we go. So now we have something like that. Okay, very good. So now what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to have a highlight action on here. So let's go ahead, let me make this a bit less tall, and let's make it a little narrower. Okay, something like that. I'm going to go back over here. Pardon me for a second while I do this. I'm going to show the header, and I'm going to just abbreviate this one. So let's call it DC. Okay, and let's go ahead and hide the header again. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to basically, okay, let me go back over here. Sorry, I know I keep going back and forth, but I'm going to go ahead and make the font smaller so they fit a bit better. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I'm saying click a state to highlight. So basically over here, I want to be able to highlight a state once I click it over here. So that's going to require a highlight action. So I'm going to go up to Dashboard Actions, and I'm going to add a highlight action, and I'm going to call this state to line. I like to give them names. So I'm going to start with the states. I'm going to want it to highlight on the lines, and I want to do it on hover. So as I hover over a state, and I want to do it on the state field. Hit OK. Hit OK again. And now you can see as I hover over, the line changes. Nice and neat. Okay, so one other thing we might be able to do is let's stick the state on the label, and let's just do it when the marks are highlighted. Okay, so now if I go back over here, and okay, it's not showing my highlight. Very good. Okay, so let's go that again. Let's go under here, highlight, show mark labels. I don't know why that's not working. Show marks to label the highlighted marks. Allow overlap. Okay, I'm not quite sure why that isn't working, but maybe I need to adjust the scale here. So let's start at 2002. Let's end in 2018. Let's see if it's maybe just needs a bit of breathing space. Okay. Okay, so ideally that should have worked, but it didn't. So let me just undo that scale. Okay, but anyway, you get the idea. So now as I hover over a state, I can highlight it. And there we go. So we can, oh, I see it labeled the beginning. Duh. Okay, so I need to go back over here to my line chart, label, and it says line ends. So it looks like it's labeling the first and not the end. So let's go ahead. We want it to label the end. So let's do state label. And I'm going to say if the year is equal to 2016, then the state, return the state. End. So let's stick state label onto the label shelf, and hopefully now that works. Okay, so all right, I'm not quite sure why that's not working. We should, oh, it's 2015, not 2016. That might be the problem. So let me edit my calculation here. Sorry about that, I thought it went to 2016. Okay, let's try again. Okay, there we go. So we got Michigan, Maine. Okay, so you notice how it's actually breaking the line up. So we need to go back over here to the line, make this an attribute so it doesn't break the line up. And now we should see, okay, perfect. That's what we were looking for. Excellent. And I like how it actually puts the little dot on the end as well. So very good. So now you can see kind of how each state looks, and let's give this a bit of breathing room now. So let's go from 2003 to 2018. And now each state should have enough room to actually display to the right. Okay, so one last thing I might do here is actually format this. And let's say we want it to, let's make it Tableau medium, maybe 8 point, and I'm going to get it to match the mark color. Okay, so now as we hover over, we can see that nice and neat. Okay, so there's your highlight action, how to label it properly, etc., etc. Okay, so now one thing is, let's say we can see how this starts at 2003 over here, and our axis starts at 2002. Well, I want this actually to be a bit closer to the axis, but if you notice here, when I change here, if I make this like 2002.5, it resets to 2002. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my state to a decimal. And notice how it kind of zoomed in a bit there. So now I could say default properties, number format, and I want it to be a custom number with 0 decimals. Okay, so now when it displays, it still looks okay. And we want to take this out of the tooltip. Okay, so now we can change this axis, and we could say, you know what, start at 2002.8 or something like that. And this one we want to end at maybe 2016.8 or 0.2 or something like that. So you want to basically kind of give equal space on either side. Okay, so now when we hover over, we can see something like that. Okay, so that's an easy way to kind of take the year and make it a decimal instead of a whole number. So hopefully you found that useful, and I'll be back soon with another tip. Have a great day.